the last thing that we'll do is take a look at proportions, but on a coordinate plane. Okay, so let's say I want to find some point x, and it's going to partition or divide. So partition is a fancy word for divide. Okay, it's going to split the segment up. Starting at point A, so that's really key here. You want to look for that wording. So starting at point A, and it's 3/5 of the way to point B. Wow, so what am I supposed to do here for this particular problem? Well, let's say this fraction was 1/2. If I'm starting at point A, what's 1/2 or what's half of the way to point B? So if we eyeball it, like maybe around there or somewhere, that would be half of the way to B. But what would 3/5 of the way look like? So to calculate a little bit of a harder fraction, here's the strategy that we're going to use if we want to divide this up into fractions like this. So we're going to find the rise and the run, or the slope, of this particular segment, okay? So how much does it rise? Okay, so if I'm starting at A, so if I start at point A and I go all the way down, so then I'm level with B, so I'm at the same spot that B is at. Well, to get from A all the way here, notice I was drawing my line down. Okay, I started at A and I went down. So if you recall from Algebra 1, when your rise is going down, you're using a negative number. Okay, so if I count all of these up, I'm going to get -10. So I went down 10. And then if I'm again at this point and I scoot over this way and I finally get to point B, so I run all the way this distance and I'm going to the right, that's +10, okay? If I was going to the left, that's negative, and if I was going up, that's positive, okay? So we're just remembering some stuff from Algebra 1. So that's our rise and our run. What I am now going to do is take this rise and this run, and I'm going to multiply both of these numbers by 3/5. So check this out. So I'll do -10 multiplied by 3/5 and +10 multiplied by 3/5. And if you do this within your calculator, right, I'm going to get -6 for this number, and then +6 for this one. Okay, so now what do I do with those values? The key thing here is that I'm starting at point A, okay? So I am actually going to find the coordinate point for A. So what is this coordinate point right here where A is located at? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and since I went this way, it's -5. And then I went up, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so -5, 6 is my coordinate point that I am starting at, okay? These numbers that I just found here and here are telling me how much I have to move to get 3/5 of the way to B, okay? So I am going to take these values and I'm going to add them to these numbers, okay? And I really want to be careful that I'm adding the right values to the right numbers here. So this -6, if you think about -6, that was your rise, okay? So your lines that are going up and down when you're doing these problems, if they're vertical like this corresponds to your y, okay? So if you recall, in a coordinate point, the second number is your y. So I'm going to take this -6 and add that with this +6 here. So I will do 6 minus 6, so this +6, and I'll subtract 6 from it, okay, to get my new point. And then, if your line is horizontal like this, so if you're going left to right, that is your x value, okay? So the number that I got once I multiplied it, this 6 here, I'm going to take this and I will add that to this -5. So 6, and I'm going to combine that with -5, okay? So once I do all of this, let's find out what that is. I will get my new coordinate point. So 6 minus 5, that is 1, and 6 minus 6, well, that's 0. So this particular coordinate point right there, that's where I would find that we are 3/5 of the way to point B, okay? So if I find that point 1, 0, which happens to be right there, this would be 3/5 of the way. If I was walking from A all the way to B, this would be 3/5 of the way from A to B. Okay, we will do one more example of this problem. So let's say I have another line segment, and this time I'm trying to split it up. I'm trying to partition it into 2/3 of the way, and I'm starting at point J, okay? So this is where I'm starting. Really crucial that you look at that wording, because if I start at point H, I'm going to get a very different problem here. So if I'm starting at J, I have to find the rise and the run first. So I am going to walk this way. Okay, and since I'm going to the left, I'm going to get a negative number. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is going to be -9 that I walked. And let me just make sure that's right. So 4, 6, 9. Yep, looks good. And then once I've gone that distance, I am going to travel up to get to H. Okay, since I'm going up, that should give me a positive number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Next thing that I want to do is I'm going to take both of these values and then multiply them by 2/3. So 6 times 2/3, and then -9 times 2/3. So what do I get for both of those? Okay. So I get 4 for the first number, and then -6 for the second number, okay? All right, so now that I found those values, now I just have to take these numbers and then add them to the correct coordinate point, okay? So remember, I'm always going to add to whatever my starting point was, so I don't care about what H is, doesn't matter to me at all. Since I'm starting at J, this is the one where I'm going to now add these values to the number 7 and -2, okay? So let's put 7 here and then -2 there. Which ones do I add them to? So if you look at 4, 4 came from this vertical line, which is our y value. So if you get your number from a line that's going vertically like this, that is going to correspond to your y. So I need to take 4 and then combine that with this -2 here. So 4 minus 2. And then the -6 is going to combine with the 7. That was my x value, and the x is the first number that I have here. So I'll do 7 minus 6. All right, well, 7 minus 6 is 1, and then 4 minus 2 is 2. So that is the coordinate point where the magic is happening. So at 1, so that's 1 there, and then up to, that point right there would be 2/3 of the way from J to H, okay? So 1, 2 would be your answer.